What's up, Taiwan? I'm Laurel Stewart with the news from here in Taiwan and around the world. In Taiwan's military, reservist units are now training how to operate drones. A new step in President Lai Ching-te's plan to improve Taiwan's defensive capabilities amid increasing threats from China. More on this from our reporter Larry Isiano, who went to Ilan to see the training.
President Lai Ching-te is visiting reservist units here on Taiwan's east coast as they carry out drone training exercises, part of the military's expansion in this field. Lai recently announced a $40 billion special defense budget, and Taiwan has rolled out major drone procurement plans, boosted benefits for specialist units, and is now training reservists to operate drone systems.
我们将无人机的操作与应用纳入后备部队的训练，这项变革是国军后备训练的新的里程碑。
All of this, part of a broader push to strengthen the country's defenses in the face of growing threats from China, which claims Taiwan and has not ruled out taking it by force. The president says the country plans to be ready to respond to a potential invasion by 2027, even as Taiwan faces daily gray zone threats in the air, at sea, and online. But the Defense Ministry is betting on drones to help with reconnaissance, intelligence gathering, and long-distance weaponry. The Defense Ministry is set to acquire nearly 49,000 domestically made drones over the next 2 years, 34,000 first-person view drones, along with around 5,000 bombers and medium and small-range loitering munitions, as well as more than 700 coastal surveillance drones. All drones would be 100% free of Chinese components. Meanwhile, Vice President Bi Kim-shao told Natalie Winters in a sit-down interview for the War Room that Taiwan hopes to further collaborations with the U.S. on drone development. Much of the world's drone supply chain currently depends on China, leading countries to seek alternative sources. Taiwan has already signed agreements with several European nations to provide drones that are 100% free of Chinese supply chains, and the country is also planning an industrial park in Chiayi to manufacture drones. Although less glamorous than displays of air power and big-ticket naval combat drills, these training exercises are crucial to Taiwan's overall defense strategy. The president says the goal is to make sure that reservists are training regularly on new equipment, so that if a conflict ever were to break out, Taiwan would be fully prepared for whatever comes its way. John Su and Larry Isiano in Ilan, Taiwan for TaiwanPlus.
Japanese and Chinese vessels had a standoff near the disputed Diaoyutai Islands off the coast of Taiwan. The two countries gave conflicting reports of what occurred near the islands, known as Senkaku Islands in Japan. China's Coast Guard said a Japanese fishing vessel illegally entered the waters before it was expelled. But Japan's Coast Guard said it drove away 2 Chinese Coast Guard ships as they approached the fishing boat. The confrontation comes amid rising tensions between Beijing and Tokyo after Japanese Prime Minister Takaichi Sanai suggested Japan might intervene in any Chinese conflict involving Taiwan. Taiwan also claims those islands. A civilian airline wants to help Taiwan's military monitor Chinese ships around Taiwan as the country pushes a whole-of-society resilience strategy. Cadence Caranta reports.
Using a powerful radar device attached to the bottom of their plane, this crew tracks ships at sea, primarily Chinese ones. Now, they want to provide their findings to Taiwan's military to help counter Chinese threats.
我们不只可以协助国军在做空中的目标监侦，也可以做海面的目标监侦。这样我就可以在第一时间让他们告知他们，我们在东部海域24海里外，或是某一个位置的经纬度，提供给他们说这里有中国的比如说旅洋3型驱逐舰在这个地方出没，这样子他们就有时间可以预应。
Apex Aviation, which runs a small Taiwanese flight school and charter service, is proposing this idea at a time when Taiwan's government has been pushing what it calls a whole-of-society resilience strategy. That means Taipei is increasingly turning to civilians and private companies to help strengthen the country's defense, as Taiwan's waters and airspace face growing incursions from China. As part of the initiative, Taiwan's military has started working with companies to produce items like drones. But the military says it has no plans to work with Apex, saying it can monitor China's activities on its own. Experts say Taiwan needs the kind of surveillance Apex offers, but allowing a private company to run it might pose some legal questions.
这个就是巡逻机，它是涉及到公权力的使用，就是 enforcement enforcement 可不可以交给 private sector， 就是私人部门去执行？这个在法律上会有一些讨论的空间。
So while a deal hasn't been made with this particular company, it does offer a glimpse into how private companies could jump in to help in a potential conflict with Beijing, and the unique considerations that may come with those partnerships. Justin Wu and Keynes Quaranta for TaiwanPlus.
Over 1,000 people are dead and hundreds more missing across Asia as storms sweep the continent's tropical regions, leaving very few areas untouched. John Van Trieste reports.
For residents on the Indonesian island of Sumatra, shock and dismay, days after cyclonic storm Senyar smashed into their homes. In Indonesia alone, 600 people are dead and close to 500 are missing. And flooding has killed around 200 more in nearby Thailand and Malaysia. Cyclones don't normally form so close to the equator, and survivors like Rosmina are still surprised at how sudden the floodwaters came.
Tiba-tiba ada orang lari dari kebun sana.
Suddenly, someone ran from the garden. Come on, run, run. The big water's coming, he said. So I immediately ran to save my child. Get out of this house, save my child. The water from this house was already up to their knees.
Udah selutut mereka air dari rumah ini.
Not everyone was able to make it out in time. Mohammed Rais explains what happened to his family and their home. Now, nothing more than a plot of sludge.
How many people lived here?
There were 12 people here.
Did everyone survive?
No, we lost 2.
Who?
My mother and mother-in-law.
Southeast Asia isn't the only part of the continent facing shock and a massive cleanup. In Sri Lanka's capital, Colombo, Cyclone Ditwa may have passed, but low-lying streets are still flooded, motorboats replacing cars in some places. More than 300 people are dead, and over 200 more missing amid the flooding and mudslides. The country hasn't seen a storm like this in years, and the country's president says it's the largest natural disaster in Sri Lanka's history. That includes the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami.
The flood this time isn't as massive as the one in 2016, but the water level is actually about 7 feet higher than then.
In Sri Lanka, the suddenness of the floodwaters took some people by surprise.
In the night, things were normal. By the next morning, everything was underwater, including our house. 7 of us, including children, took refuge on the top floor. There are another 15 adults still there. Their houses are completely underwater.
Meanwhile, yet another storm, Koto, is approaching Vietnam, where it has already killed several people. It now threatens to cause more damage after weeks of heavy flooding in the country. And so, the devastation continues throughout Asia, with a large and growing death toll, homes and livelihoods damaged or destroyed, and a long and painful recovery still ahead. Delphine Chen and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
The US will lower its tariffs on South Korean imports to 15% after Seoul said it would increase investment in the US. The new rate, down from 25%, will take effect retroactively from November 1st and comes after Seoul pledged to invest $350 billion in the States. US Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick said the move unlocked the full benefit of South Korea's trade deal with US President Donald Trump. The reduced rate extends to car and airplane parts and aligns South Korea's rates with those seen in deals with Japan and the EU. The European Union has ended a trade dispute launched against China in 2022 over its alleged targeting of Lithuania. The complaint lodged with the World Trade Organization had accused China of blocking imports from Lithuania after the Baltic country greenlit the establishment of a Taiwanese representative office in its capital, Vilnius. China claims Taiwan as its own and does not like moves by other countries it sees as recognizing Taiwan's sovereignty. Beijing denies ever formally boycotting Lithuanian goods. The WTO says the case was abandoned because its objectives were met and normal trade has started again. German tech giant Merck says its new $580 million semiconductor materials park in Kaohsiung will help supply local chip makers.
170亿的投资很重要一件事情就是，就像我刚刚有提到的，我们要根据客户的需求，我们跟客户紧密的合作，还有业界的伙伴们紧密的合作。我们希望能够依据需求来做分阶段的在地化生产。
Jade Park, what Merck calls a semiconductor solution megasite, officially opened in southern Taiwan on Monday, with production expected to start next year. It will focus on supplying materials critical for cutting-edge AI and memory chips, which executives and officials say will boost supply chain resilience and local production capacity.
我们有这么多的伙伴们在台湾，让台湾的半导体生态系 非常的完整，那尤其是在补足我们材料以及很多 delivery 设备的这一块呢的不足。
The company says the facility features sustainable design and offsets half of its annual electricity use with renewable energy. In October, the community of Dulan on Taiwan's east coast hosted thousands of visitors for its annual Amis Music Festival. But what was it like to perform on there? Our Zoom In Zoom Out interview show tagged along and spoke with Basaw, the 2025 Golden Melody Award winner for Best Indigenous Singer, to find out.
Because we all know that you got the Golden Melody Award for the Best Indigenous Singer this year. So since you got the award, has anything changed so far when you're making music?
我觉得在我还没有踏入音乐圈，我其实一直都在努力的争取很多表演跟舞台的机会，希望自己有一天被看见。那我觉得得了金曲奖对我来讲最大的改变是我更勇敢，因为我更敢跨出去做我喜欢做的事情，因为被鼓励了，被肯定了，所以我就觉得对我来讲音乐不会停止，我会继续创作更多好听的音乐给大家听。
How would you define music for maybe your where you're at right now in maybe one sentence or a phrase?
我觉得其实音乐就是生活，就是人生。因为我们透过音乐在讲我们的故事，讲我们的人生，或是我们看到、我们感受到所有的一切。所以这是我对音乐的，解释。但对我来讲，音乐是我的生命，所以我从 大概幼儿园我就一直唱歌到现在，所以能够站到这么大的舞台，我其实一直都是很感恩的。对。
Can you maybe show us a little bit of movement or the group or the melody that you're feeling right now? Show our audience.
我带来一首是我们南投一个国宝阿嬷教我的一首歌，叫《真正的女人》。 真正的女人，来自南投部落的歌，对，谢谢。
For more behind-the-scenes interviews, you can watch this full episode of Zoom In Zoom Out, available on the TaiwanPlus website and YouTube. Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website and follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally today, let's take a look at Taiwan's Hong dance troupe performing in Canada. I'm Laurel Stewart. Take care. See you next time.
In the face of adversity, the power of truth.
A roadmap for a just and open world, charted by the freest country in Asia.
Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
TaiwanPlus News, a voice of freedom in Asia.